Right, so this is the second half of the jury's qualification and selection question. So you've already done qualifications, disqualifications and other. So you've done the first three. This bit is the selection, vetting and challenging. So it's this bit that you're needing to use then to get the rest of the 9 marks. Right, so how are juries selected then? Well, basically they are selected out randomly through a computer system every fortnight. So somebody's job is to press the button and that'll enable names to be picked at random. Okay, how do you know you've been picked? Well, you receive a jury summons through the post, basically saying to you that you've been summoned for jury service at whatever court, so Leeds Crown Court, on this particular day for an average of 2 weeks. So they'll pick, normally they'll pick 15 people beforehand and they'll get chosen at random. The reason that we pick 15 is because some people will either be disqualified, so they've got a criminal conviction, or they will want an excusal. So they'll want the possibility to be able to get out of jury service, okay? So we normally pick 15 and then the final 12 are chosen and they go into the room. Now, if all 15 can sit, which is rare, but if they all can sit, so none of them are disqualified, none of them want to be excused, what we'll do is we'll use their ID cards in order to decide who the final 12 is going to be. Okay, before they start, they're sworn in and they're shown a video about their role. So you'll get shown the jury video, you've been shown it in classes already, on what you do, when you need to alert the judge, what if you need to go to the toilet, etc., whose job is whose, where do you need to go, and what your job is and why it's so important, okay? So you just need to go through these bullet points and explain how we are selected. So we're at random from the electoral register, the computer picks it every 2 weeks, we get a summons through the post, generally they pick 15 in case someone is disqualified, then the final 12 go in the jury room. Now, your next area is vetting then, so this is the V from SVC. Now, vetting is basically checking that you are alright to be on the jury. Because we leave it down to you to tell us that you are disqualified, we're sort of shooting ourselves in the foot there. We need to make sure that you are definitely able to sit. So we do routine police checks, as it says here, to identify people that are disqualified, that aren't able to sit. So in the case of Mason, the police did the background checks on the jurors. They did just a normal routine police check and found out that members of the jury were disqualified and shouldn't have been sitting. Okay, so if you want to add in there, then so they'd done the routine police checks, they'd vetted the jury, and actually there were a few members of the jury that weren't able to sit because they did have criminal convictions. Okay. If the case is involving like national security or a terrorism case potentially, they will actually do a further background check and political affiliations. This is to make sure that the individuals could not have any sort of connection to the national security case or the terrorism case, etc. We have to make sure that it is as completely non-biased as possible. Right, your last bit of the question then is challenging. So you are able as a defendant to challenge the jury or a particular member. So as it says there, you've got the possibility to challenge the array. Now, challenging the array, it means you are challenging all of the jury under the Juries Act, because either they don't represent society or you think they might be biased towards the victim in that sense. So R versus Fraser, the defendant was an ethnic minority and all the jurors were white. So clearly we needed to get a new jury there. So the defendant challenged the array, challenged them all, and we got a brand new 12-member jury to come into court. Right, so challenge the array, use the A. Challenging the array is challenging all the jury. Right, if turn over, we've got challenging for cause. Now this is where you're challenging one individual member. Okay, so it could be that you think they're disqualified, you think that they're connected to the case, or any other particular reason why they shouldn't be sitting, okay? Now, in Sprasson, they did challenge him for cause. They challenged her. The reason was this woman was impanelled to be on a jury, but the two defendants that they were trying, they were staying at the prison where her husband worked. So he was a prison officer, and obviously he knew the defendants, and he would go home on his night and say, you know, what's gone on during the day. So she already had an idea of the defendants. Because she was connected to the case, then what we had to do was challenge for cause. So their convictions got quashed, so they got let off, and we had to, unfortunately, challenge her and bring a new member of the jury in instead. Okay. Right, last thing then, the prosecution has also got the right to challenge. What they're doing is they are asking for a member to be placed at the end of the list and only used if necessary. Now, again, this could be something simple like... it means that they're not going to represent the jury, they're not going to represent society. So it could be that there's going to end up being too many men rather than women. Okay? Or it could mean that there's too much of one gender or too much of one race represented there. So it just means, I mean, you never get told about this, to be fair. You just get known that you're not going to be sat on the jury. So don't take it personally. It could just be that there's a reason for it. There's a reason for why they've had to put you at the end of the list. Generally, things like not representing society or the gender difference. Right, so that's your 18-mark question then. You just need to be aware then it's split in two, okay? So you've got qualifications, disqualifications and others, selection, vetting and challenging. These need to be all as mini paragraphs, so you can't bullet point. So what you do, sort of, I'll just move on your piece of paper, you would be doing it this way. So you'd go downwards, qualifications, disqualifications, others, selection, etc. So what we're looking at is making sure that you include all 6 of those to get the 18 marks. So even though the question's only asking qualification and selection, it doesn't just mean those 2. Otherwise, you're probably looking at getting 5-6 marks out of 18. You actually need all these for qualification and all these for selection, and that's how it works. So they're all quals, they're all selection, and you need all of them to get the 18 marks. So it is quite a big question. It's a difficult question. So you do need to make sure that you're practicing. Use the writing frames that have been emailed out to you or that you've been given in order to revise this question successfully.